So what is it about Kaspa that whales know, but they don't want you to know? Well, the answer to this question has made me surprisingly bullish on Kaspa. I think everyone deserves to know the reason why, mainly because I was not so much a bear, but definitely didn't have a true sort of conviction in this project as of about a week ago. Now, upon researching this, which the answer will definitely surprise you, I began to realize this project for where the crypto space is heading, but most importantly, where the world is heading, because cryptocurrencies, I believe, will have a very integral role in filling a very big void. I think Kaspa is going to play a part in filling that void so long as it continues to develop on the path it's currently going on, okay? Now, again, we're going to actually look into the reason why whales don't want you to know this, and that's one thing I kind of like to preach on this channel, right? You might be married temporarily to a sentiment, negative or positive, but you must always be well aware when new research presents itself, when you challenge your own thinking or hear something from someone, you should be the type of person that can change your point of view on something. Doesn't mean you have to go flip complete bear to bull or bull to bear, but you must be able to take both sides of the story. Stay in the middle on the fence, because if you don't, you are not, and I'm going to positively say this, a good investor. As Warren Buffett said on a recent video, if you cannot write down the reasons why you were purchasing a project at a certain price level or market cap, and the reasons because your friend told you about it or because you heard some stories, chances are it's not a very good damn reason. So let me get into a possibly very positive reason here for Kaspa, and we're going to talk about this. I want to have a discussion down below, okay? So that is the main premise as well, right? To open everyone up as a discussion, okay? So the first thing I want to take a quick look at, very quick peek here, is Kaspa's price action. Now, the 7-day, we pretty much are closing, at least, on pretty much where it opened, right? So sideways movement, that's not too much. We zoom out here, yes, we are down on the monthly, but I want to say this point over here, if we click 1 year, we're actually pretty much at its peak, right? So about a month ago, more or less, we had peaked, okay? So no, now is not, in my opinion, a good DCA level. I do think we could definitely go lower. I think Kaspa's most definitely, it's expanded, okay? It's definitely overbought, in my opinion, okay? It's a lot, I think it's overly speculated on right now. Doesn't mean it's a bad project to buy. Let me get into the reasons why. I'm just saying, if you are someone who wants a DCA, not financial advice, now might not be the best time. Just want to say my personal opinion. But I do want to say, I have, for those of you who are big Kaspa fans, I want to give a very big shout out over here, because I do know a YouTuber who has been talking about Kaspa for a long time now. And that's one of my friends, Crypto John. John has been covering this. As you can see in his recent videos, I mean, he talked about this quite a lot. It's one of his all-time favorite projects, and I do believe because he's been talking about it for so long, he knows, right? It's one of his favorite projects, so obviously he feels a lot better about talking about it. Really wants to talk about it more. He's more passionate, okay? So if you are a Kaspa fan, you'll definitely have all the content plus more you need by following Crypto John. I will leave the link down below to his channel. But I want to say, for those who are wondering about Kaspa, is now a good time to buy or not? And what's happening for the future? Well, as you saw, I think we are probably overdue for some lower price action, for some better times to get in the project. But I want to say they have some massive updates coming out, which potentially could be coming in the bull run. What does that mean? Well, big news equals big price action. Big price action equals we make some good money, okay? And they have a really massive upgrade coming out. They have a very tight-knit, strong community. And I believe that when they do launch this particular event, which is their smart contract launching, so they're pretty much launching their application layer, meaning that developers, aka businesses, decentralized businesses, can now build on top of the platform. Well, they can come in now and begin developing, right? That's a very big upgrade for any network, especially in this case for Kaspa. Reason being, because Kaspa is a completely leaderless, proof of work, highly scalable network, meaning that it's run and controlled completely by the community. Matter of fact, it's more Bitcoin than Bitcoin, matter of fact, to be honest with you, right? And so I believe when this application layer does come out and it's launched, we're going to probably see a fair few companies come in and start building. And so I believe the community will definitely get amongst it in that case. I do have my concerns, and I want to touch on some of these concerns again in this video, because ultimately, I think while it does address some of the concerns that I've touched on before, I do think that there is still some room for potential, not failure, but definitely this slow and steady pace. If you can imagine like a snowball rolling down a hill, it starts off quite small, because slow because it's nice and small, and obviously because it's kind of like an engine, right? It's slow, and so the larger it gets, the bigger the movement is, the faster it goes. And I think that right now Kaspa is still starting on that slow snowball. Once we find applications being built on any network, irrespective of Kaspa or not, that is strictly when, and this is kind of what I'm going to touch on in a minute, that's kind of changed my thought, is that will dictate its place within an ecosystem, broader ecosystem, right? Cryptocurrency. And in the case of Kaspa, as you can see, one of my concerns back over here was the fact that where did it really sit, right? What was Kaspa doing? You know, we got ETH over here as a settlement layer for layer 2s, okay? It has a place, it's pretty much going to be like the very, very bottom layer stack for all these layer 2s, and the layer 2s that have their own sort of unique abilities and stuff like that. We have XDC focused on trade, fire, and enterprise. We got Solana focusing on IoT, Web3, gaming, things like that. HBAR over here, IoT, supply chain, gaming, all of these high impacts, you know, fast settlement, high TPS sort of networks, or at least use cases and enterprise, you know, in the real world stuff, right? But what was Kaspa used for? Because it's proof of work, right? Which is an old, outdated sort of consensus system, and it is outdated, and I'm going to show you why in a second, but it's leaderless, right? So where did it actually sit? Now, here's the real big unlock in my opinion, right? I believe this is where Kaspa can truly shine, and this is what I honestly was overlooking and what I had to kind of mentally overcome. And it was almost an epiphany, or I was in bed one night and I was thinking to myself, you know, I sometimes I'm kind of crazy like this. I just love the industry so much, I'll just like think about some of the stuff I say and talk about, and just like, I have a strong sense of what's coming in 2026, right? In the next bear market, when frameworks are implemented, when the world's in a different place, when we're pivoting to this new WEF standard, if you guys know what I'm talking about. And I strongly believe that cryptocurrencies aren't going to be cryptocurrencies, more so businesses, like distributed businesses. And so like where Kaspa sits is a very unique place, because even though it sits, in my opinion, it'll definitely take precedence in Web3, but it doesn't quite align with ADA, Solana, and Near protocol, right? Obviously, it doesn't align with XDC, HBAR, and XLM. Why? Because these are networks that do have some sort of governance structure. They're proof of stake. They do have some sort of hierarchy to some degree, at least right now, and probably will for a while. Definitely not VET, because VET most definitely is a top to bottom business structure. It's a consortium network. But Kaspa, well, Kaspa's proof of work, it's completely fair. It's Bitcoin. It's completely fair. Leaderless. There's no one person or group of small people leading the network. We have developers that can come in, of course, and agree on upgrades and stuff, just like Bitcoin. And it's also a smart contract network. So it does fit within Web3. People throw around, you know, payments. I don't think it'll be used for payments. I think it'll be able to be used for payments and can be used for payments. But I think once smart contracts come on board, unless the smart contracts in the ecosystem move it in a way where it's hyper-focused on payments, that might be a use case, sure. But I think when this Web3 ecosystem begins to build on it, I do think it will then become a true Web3 ecosystem. Let me explain what I'm talking about here, because I know some of you are going to be thinking to yourselves, what's it like? Some people that just don't know much about crypto, right? You'd be like, dude, what's he talking about? Like a true Web3 ecosystem? What do you mean? Well, take Cardano, for example. Take Solana. Take Near protocol. Again, these are proof of stake networks. They were pre-mined, okay, which means they had a whole bunch of tokens ready to go to distribute to different entities. Kaspa hasn't. Kaspa is completely leaderless, meaning there's no one person, team, or whatever leading it. It's Bitcoin, right? And it is designed to be like Bitcoin, right? It's a peer-to-peer, right? Meaning there's no intermediary, there's no middle person, electronic cash system. But again, because it's got smart contracts, that will lead it into a certain direction, which I believe, again, it'll be like, if you can think about it, in 2026, 2030, 2035, we have all of these networks to some degree being controlled by whatever the higher ups decide to do. For example, they could buy a whole heap of stake in any of these companies, and therefore they control a portion to make a governance decision on where to go next with the protocol. Or they might, you know, they could do pretty much anything that influences the owners or the business, the enterprise that essentially controls a large portion of these networks, and do whatever they want, right? They have full control. It is the governments we're talking about, whereas Kaspa can't do anything, right? So therefore, I believe it can truly become a Web3 hub, right? It's a Web3 hub. If you think about Bitcoin, Bitcoin is almost like the people's gold. It's not cash, it's gold at this point. And this can be like the people's ecosystem, the people's Web3 marketplace, right? Which then, because it's so fast and it's got quite quick finality, it will have this very diverse ecosystem with payment options as well. So that is kind of where I believe Kaspa is headed personally. And this is what I'm saying about whales, knowing this that you don't. Because if you can understand this, and if this actually comes true, this is going to unlock so much damn demand, because smart contracts built on Kaspa, they're going to be completely leaderless as well, truly decentralized applications. Unlike the other Kaspa with the C that has upgradable smart contracts, therefore you can probably find that the companies creating these can become liable to, you know, whatever government standard or protocols that, you know, are implied on them, implemented on them, and therefore they can upgrade the contract. On this, it can truly become leaderless. right? So I do think that most definitely Kaspa has this opportunity. And if we come back here, another thing that I was kind of concerned about was the incentives, right? Or developers wanting to even build on the network, because other networks that have these pre-mined tokens, they can offer the carrot on the end of the stick. Hey, you guys come and build on our network, we'll give you $1 million. And also Kaspa wasn't as true, tried and tested, right? It hasn't been around for years and years like Ethereum or like some of these other networks adopting more commonplace consensus mechanisms. But I must say, in addition to this, right, touching on the 2 points at once, and ESG, you know, so for example, environmental, social, and governance, where I believe you won't find, well, at least I did believe that, you know, Web2 companies won't adopt Kaspa because it's proof of work and it's dangerous to the environment. I want to say that, again, it cannot be shut down. It cannot be altered. It is technically a Web3 haven, okay? And again, I don't want you guys to think I'm saying this because I'm just like talking absolute nonsense and trying to make things that aren't really there. I'm trying to think like 6, 7, 10 years in the future here. I'm not trying to think about, you know, in the next, you know, 12 months. This is something that you have to pivot to now. And this is what smart money has that we don't. They have teams of investors. Think of BlackRock, think of Vanguard, think of State Street, think of all these companies that actually are investing in, not crypto just yet, but they will be, right? We have to begin to forward think here and speculate. All right, so that's where I think it can sort of come in. ESG doesn't really matter because in that case, Kaspa can partner, okay? They can partner with, or at least, I shouldn't say partner because it's leaderless, but there are most definitely ways in which Kaspa can integrate, or a network can integrate with Kaspa, so that for somehow it like sort of offsets Kaspa's proof of work network. And matter of fact, doesn't really matter because it becomes a Web3, you know, hub, master place. Well, what does it become then? Untouchable, leaderless, right? You can't even alter that anyway, okay? And again, incentives don't really matter if it is seen as that, because if it's seen as untouchable Web3 and truly the people's marketplace, well, that's going to be a pretty good incentive for developers to want to build on it. Anyway, we will have to see for when smart contracts come out, but my still ongoing concern with Kaspa here is the fact that it's highly centralized. It is a proof of work network. Proof of work networks are extremely centralized. I don't care what anyone says, the facts are in front of our face. Bitcoin is highly centralized. 3 pools on Bitcoin right now of the hash rate control over 60%. That is over 10% more than what is needed to overthrow the network. And if I go over to Kaspa, well, Kaspa isn't too much better. The top 3 networks are like 2% less than owning 51% of the network. And of course, the top 4 would definitely blow up past that level, okay? So I want to say for the record, Kaspa's economic structure is designed in such a way to kind of move away from this centralized structure. It's designed to be, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's designed to essentially move away from this possible centralizing, okay? It was pretty much delivering a lot of tokens out very fast, and then it was tapering off over time, but on a very steady trajectory, opposed to Bitcoin, which is kind of like massive jumps with the halvings, okay? And again, it kind of does replace Bitcoin. What was Bitcoin's white paper? A peer-to-peer electronic cash system. If Satoshi Nakamoto is alive, I guarantee he'd be turning over his bed every night, because this was supposed to be a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash. What is Bitcoin now? It definitely ain't electronic cash, okay? It is peer-to-peer, but I believe that is where Kaspa can truly come in and shine. And guys, that is the reason why I would almost say borderline super bullish on Kaspa, so long as what I'm saying in this video does, you know, play into fruition. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Again, it kind of depends on what the ecosystem in the market, like any market, I guess, decides on what the project actually is to become. All right. So with that said, guys, again, follow Crypto John, because he will keep you in the loop with this project. And I must say, hats off to him, sir, for following this project nice and early. Guys, talk to you later. Thanks so much. If you want to watch more Kaspa videos, the 2 videos on your screen will definitely quench your thirst. Thanks for watching. Talk to you all soon. Bye.